So in this paper, we investigate differences in unemployment rates across education groups. And this is a pattern, if you see in the United States, that high school graduates have 2 times higher unemployment rates than college graduates. And this has been present in the data for a long time and is also observed for many other countries. And even if these differences are still present, when you control by industry or by occupation.
So in theory, differences in education across education group could arise either because the more educated are more likely to find jobs, or because the less educated are more likely to lose their jobs. In the data for the United States, we observed that the probability of finding a job is roughly similar across education groups. In contrast, what creates these remarkable differences in unemployment by education is the probability of losing the job. So the less educated are much more likely to lose their jobs. And in our paper, we would like to understand the mechanisms that contribute to these differences. So we would like to understand why people with high education experience lower labor market turnover rates.
So we use different data, we combine different data sets. One is on training. So we have information on initial on-the-job training, so the amount of training that you need when you start work by occupation levels. And we combine this data with the CPS data on employment status to compute job finding rates and separation rates by education level.
So it's true that people research a lot what happens, why wages differ by education, but what we are interested here is why unemployment rates differ by education, and basically we take advantage of the recent theoretical and empirical advances, so how to measure gross worker flows and how to use search and matching models to explain these differences.
And what we do with the model is that we combine the model with the data and see, and what we try to answer is whether the observed differences in training across education groups are enough to explain these differences in the unemployment rates via the separation rate margin. And the model does a good job in doing that. So basically the model is able to deliver the magnitudes of differences in separation rates while keeping the job finding rate unaffected.
And the model that we built in this paper also allows us to quantitatively evaluate other possible explanations for differences in unemployment dynamics by education. So for example, one alternative hypothesis is that jobs for high educated workers are more profitable, or alternatively it could also be the case that hiring costs increase with education, or another possible explanation is that job-specific shocks affect jobs that are occupied by people with different educational attainment differ. And after we evaluate all these different explanations through the lens of our model, we find that these alternative explanations are less likely to generate the patterns that we observe in the data for the US.